Hi, a very good afternoon to everyone. I hope everyone can hear me. Welcome to this session. We are going to start in about 2 minutes time, and thank you everyone for bearing with us. Okay, I think we are ready to start. Hi everyone, a very good afternoon to all of you. Thank you for spending your time here with us. My name is Eileen and I'm going to be your facilitator for this session. And with me here is my dear partner in crime, Lionel.
Hi everyone. For those who have already known us, welcome. For those who have not known us, we are career advisors from IBF. And we hope that this session will be benefit to all of us, including ourselves, because to us it's always a learning process. So I think thank you again for deciding to spend this afternoon of 1 hour plus with us. With that, Eileen, you could carry on.
Yep, thank you, Lionel. Right, for those who are new to us, a short introduction about what we do as a career center. We generally help all job seekers in their career journey. So whether your career journey involves you learning how to write a better resume, whether you need job interview skills coaching, or helping with your LinkedIn profile and working generally enhancing your job search skills, that's what we are here for. And yeah, so we're ready to start. So what's in it for me today? Just a caveat, this is what we are going to cover for today's webinar. We are going to understand basic principles of how LinkedIn works, right? And if you have looked at the title of what we have designed this webinar for today, it is to answer that question: is LinkedIn a good job search tool for me? So the entire webinar is going to help you to answer that question. For those of you who are who might be new to LinkedIn, you are not convinced of why or if you should use LinkedIn at all. So the second thing that we want to achieve is that we hope that this session will help you to decide whether you want to use LinkedIn in your job search. And the third thing that we want to cover is to share with you some simple tips to work LinkedIn the way it is meant to be worked. And just a simple caveat, this session will not be covering the technical details, like, for example, how do you open a LinkedIn account? Or how are you going to write a headline? We are not going to do that in this session, and we do have provision to help you do that if you need help doing that. And just to make it clear for everyone, today's session is going to cover basically how LinkedIn works, why it works, and how you're going to make use of it if you choose to use LinkedIn in your job search. Yeah. Is that good,
most important of all, we are not sponsored by LinkedIn. So that's why we can let you choose whether you want to use it or not.
Yes. Yes. And to get the most out of this webinar, I'd like everyone to remember that we are here to share principles that help you to apply what we are sharing with you to your own unique situation. Right. And as we like to tell all our candidates, you will find many other LinkedIn training sessions out there. And some of you might even have more coach than one. From every coach, just eat the meat and spit out the bones. Yep.
Very good.
So a disclaimer, once again, we do not represent LinkedIn. And what we're going to share today is really based on our experience working with job seekers over these last 4 or 5 years at the Career Center has been an experience. Yeah, and so, okay, understanding basic principles of how LinkedIn works. And as we continue, I want to encourage everyone to feel free to pop your questions in the Q&A panel, and we're happy to stop and explain at any point in time if you have to ask questions. And as we always encourage those of you who attend our webinars, the more questions you ask, the more things you can draw out of us. So let the question asking begin. So principle 1, recruiters used LinkedIn to find talent. But not all recruiters do that. Okay, what does that mean for you, right? So what we are trying to say is when you want to decide whether or not you should use LinkedIn to find a job for yourself, you have to first determine whether are your jobs found in LinkedIn. So for example, you could be in a profession that does not use LinkedIn as a recruitment tool, and which is why we are saying that if the recruiters or hiring managers for your type of job roles use LinkedIn to find candidates, to find talent, then that is one decision point for you. If the jobs you want are on LinkedIn, then you should be using LinkedIn as your job search tool. Right? I know this may not, this may sound very in your face, but people don't realize that. Like, if my job is not on LinkedIn, then I don't need to use it. So the key question to ask yourself is, today, is the job that I'm looking for found in LinkedIn? Oh, Charlene, thank you. The chat function is disabled.
Yeah, which is why if you have a question, you put in the Q&A. Yeah. But the chat function, yeah, I think just make sure that the chat is for chat and the question and answers is in the Q&A, that's why.
Hi, yes, everybody. There is no chat function anymore for webinars. We will appreciate if you have any questions, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so if everyone is okay with this particular, let me see. Okay, if everyone's okay with this principle, I'm going to just give an example of what are some jobs that might not be on LinkedIn. So for example, jobs in the construction industry. If you're looking to be, say, a forklift driver, a forklift supervisor, those jobs are not likely to be found on LinkedIn. And therefore, your decision point is that if that's not on LinkedIn, then I may not need to use LinkedIn for my job. Another example would be if you are going to work for secret services, FBI, or in our case, maybe Central Narcotics Bureau, or you're working for MI5 or something like that, then chances are you're not going to be using LinkedIn for your job search. Yeah. So, Lionel, you have anything else to add? Otherwise, I'm going to continue.
You already have 2 questions if you want to attend to them.
Oh. Oh, okay, thank you for that question. I like it. So the first question is, does it matter if we use premium LinkedIn or normal LinkedIn? No, it does not. And I always advise people, just go with the normal LinkedIn. The premium LinkedIn, if I'm not wrong, allows you to inbox somebody. But the normal LinkedIn is good enough for your job search if you learn how to work it.
Yeah, the normal one is enough if you can, shall we say, use most of the available function. The premium one is, as what Eileen said, it allows you to send personal messages to certain people, which the normal one cannot. The premium also let you see who are the people that has viewed your profile. Because you will realize that if you use a normal one, sometimes you cannot see who viewed your profile. And also the premium one also let you have access to LinkedIn Learning. So if you want to use LinkedIn besides as a tool of job search, because today we are talking about LinkedIn basically to use as a job search tool. But if you want to use LinkedIn as a way to get your informal learning, then yeah, you will need to use the premium, whereby you will have access to the LinkedIn Premium.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and Sebastian, to answer your question, right? Okay, my principal one answers your first question, right? Is LinkedIn one of the better tools for roles related to banking and finance? So in our experience, banks and companies in the financial sector tend to use LinkedIn a lot to hunt for talent.
Yeah.
So if you are looking in this sector, yes, please use LinkedIn in your job search. And when we talk about using LinkedIn in your job search, we will describe more in the rest of this webinar so that you understand what exactly that looks like. And the premium LinkedIn shows us where we are the top applicants. No, it does not help. Even if you're the top applicant according to LinkedIn, but you still, if you still don't get a call back
top for the human.
Yeah, so it doesn't help you. So if this is the only point that's making you want to sign up for LinkedIn, then maybe respectfully suggest that you keep your money first. Yeah, thank you for that. I'm going to carry on. Okay. Principle number 2, recruiters use LinkedIn to search for talent. I know this is a very obvious fact, but people don't realize that if recruiters are using LinkedIn to search for people just like you, then if you want to be found, your objective in using LinkedIn is to be found. And why I'm repeating this so slowly is because a lot of people think, okay, I want to use LinkedIn, I want to be on LinkedIn, and then after that they set their privacy setting at the highest level. You know, people do things like you don't add a profile photo, you hide all your job experience, you refused to accept connections, and you generally have a very poorly created profile that is either not searchable or not attractive to someone who is actually trying to look for talent just like you. And so this is why principle 2 is very important. So again, if the job that you're wanting, especially in the banking and finance sector, is on LinkedIn, and you know that recruiters are using LinkedIn to find you, your overriding objective in everything that you do on LinkedIn is to be found. So I hope everyone can remember this as we go along. Okay, and the question to keep asking yourself is, does an action help me get found? So for example, if you say, hey, you know, I'm a very private person, I don't like to show my name on LinkedIn. So does that help you to get found? No, it does not. And in fact, it hinders you from being found. Or perhaps some of you might think that, okay, I don't want details on my last job to be on LinkedIn. Fine. And then you completely remove your last job experience from LinkedIn itself and you show only the job before last. So does that help you to get found? So again, the answer is no. And therefore, if you truly want to be found, you have to follow how LinkedIn works. Lionel, do you have any example to share?
At this moment, no, but you are right to raise this because I do get people that say that, oh, I only allow certain people to see my profile, which will actually defeat the purpose. You must understand that LinkedIn as a social media is very much different from Facebook or all the other social medias that you may be using. Because unlike Instagram, which is some people want to use it because they want to be found for certain things, but LinkedIn, at this level, yes, you want to be found. Later, we'll talk about how, you know, to be found. How do you want to portray yourself, and that comes in the later part of this program. But for a start, yes, you must realize that if you choose to use LinkedIn as a job search tool, then basically you need to keep asking yourself, yes, will this help me be found or will it hinder me from being found? Because at the end of the day, you're using as a job search, you want a job. So you want the recruiters or the hiring manager to find you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Lionel. And to answer Ajay's question, right, please cover profile tips. We are not likely we will cover profile tips in passing in this session, but we are not going to cover them in detail. So if you have specific questions, feel free to ask them in the Q&A and we'll see if we can cover them within this session. The next thing that and also for those of you who are listening, LinkedIn, the reason why we keep emphasizing that you have to be found in LinkedIn is that LinkedIn has got algorithms that help recruiters find their talent. So for example, recruiters might look for somebody with credit risk management with 5 years of experience. And that algorithm within the LinkedIn, the search engine, when a recruiter uses it, is going to crawl through all your profiles. And it's going to find evidence of, where you were 5 years ago and whether your jobs include the words credit risk management. And so this is why we are saying, and how recent they are. So this is why we are saying that if you want to be found for your experience, then everything you want to be found for needs to be up there in your profile. Okay. I hope this helps. I'm going to move on to the next point, which is, okay, principle 3. Okay, I'm going to say something opposite to what Lionel just said. He said LinkedIn does not work like Facebook. And
no, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't. Okay, but there are things about Facebook that you need to learn that works exactly the same in LinkedIn. Meaning to say that, all of us have got friends. I'm not sure if all of us are on Facebook, but those who are on Facebook, you will realize that every time you log into Facebook, right, the first thing you see is going to be your feed, right? And your feed is populated by, your areas of interest, what you last looked for in Facebook. Okay, and then it is also going to be populated by people who have got content related to your area of interest. Right? So for example, if your last search in Facebook was for donuts, right? The next time on your feed, you're going to get either advertisements or posts from bakers, about the donuts. So similarly, when, from this session, we want you to remember that LinkedIn works a lot like that. When a recruiter goes into the LinkedIn and looks for somebody with sustainability experience or corporate finance, then LinkedIn is going to keep feeding this person, profiles or content for, sustainable finance, ESG, and all that to this recruiter. So in this respect, this is what we are talking about. And we're going to talk about, and if you want to be found on LinkedIn, remember, you really have to work the engine. Just like, the people in Facebook, the people who appear in your feed are the ones who keep on posting stuff. So in the same way, if you want to be appearing on recruiters' feeds or friends' feeds, hiring managers' feeds in LinkedIn, you really literally have to work LinkedIn. Yep. Okay, Lionel, feel free to add anything here. Feel free to also not add anything.
Okay. Given a chance, I just want to say that, because what does she mean by work means as what you did for Facebook, you need to feed the feed. So you need to be sharing, you need to be posting, which we'll cover later. But the thing is, many of the people that I spoke to thinks that LinkedIn is like an online resume. If you think that's the case, then you're really not fully understanding the full capacity of what LinkedIn can do for you.
Yeah, thanks, Lionel. Yes, LinkedIn is not an online resume, and there are, you see, no matter what is your profession, you can be a coach, you can be a trainer, you can be in risk, you can be in compliance. But if you just put up your profile like that as an online resume, whenever a recruiter looks for risk, compliance, you are going to be you are going to be up there in the search results, but in the 1,000 or the number 2,000 in terms of your rank results, and you are never going to get to the first page of the recruiter who's trying to look for you. So that's what we're saying. Okay, where we put in the algorithm, Johnny, we do not put in any algorithm that is to be found because LinkedIn changes its algorithm all the time. And you can Google for how their algorithms work. There are people who track their algorithms, but generally the principle for us all to remember in order to work LinkedIn is to remember that the algorithm always rewards those people with, number one, high number of connections, and number two, high amount of activity. And what we mean by activity, we will talk about that. Yeah. Okay, next. Principle 4. Okay, you decide what you want to be found for. This is important because there are a lot of people that, have, we approach LinkedIn with a mindset. Some of us have this bias and we think, oh, LinkedIn is only for job search. And then we cast a lot of judgments on other people who may be using LinkedIn for other purposes. On LinkedIn, there are all sorts of characters. There are people who use, who are self-employed, and they use LinkedIn as a marketing tool to sell their services. So that's one. Number two, there are people who use LinkedIn to do fundraising. That's two. And there are also people who use LinkedIn to provide a better brand. And that's hopefully what we want for you all today. We are assuming that whoever's coming into this session is on the market looking for a job. So when you decide to use LinkedIn, you are the one who decides what you want to be found for. So what we mean by this is, for example, right, if you are in banking, if you're in finance, you have a professional persona, right? But at the same time, you might be a very avid Minecraft programmer, or you might be into data analysis or something like that. Now, if you want to be found for that as well, then it is to your advantage to make sure that somehow within your profile, your work experience, and your daily LinkedIn activity, you incorporate these elements of your experience, your personality within LinkedIn. And the other thing, the reason why I showed this picture of the Avengers in this particular principle is that, the advantage that LinkedIn has over just a plain resume is that on a resume, it's very hard to showcase your personality. And LinkedIn is the best place for you to showcase your personality, that edge that may make a recruiter or hiring manager choose you over somebody else with the same experience as you. But for your personality that is coming through LinkedIn may be a better fit for that organization. I mean, we have seen that happen in many, many cases where people were sought after for the content they posted, the personality that came through. And there are cases where hiring managers and companies are looking for personalities to join their team, not experience. Yep. Oh, okay. Okay, we've got a question. Lionel, I'm going to answer the question and then you feel free to cut me in and join, okay? Yep. So the first question is LinkedIn secure? Can someone pose as a recruiter just to collect personal data through the CV you post? First off, in LinkedIn, we're not encouraging you to put in your mobile number or your email address. As I understand it, in LinkedIn, you do not put in your email address. People who want to contact you for a role that they think they want, they will send you a message through the LinkedIn messaging function, and you do not need to put in your mobile, your date of birth, or any of these personal details. So yes, the recruiter cannot just collect personal data through the information you post. And our suggestion is that you do not post an entire Word or PDF document of your CV online. That's not advisable. Yeah, and the other thing about that, right, is also that for those of you who are very concerned about security, please make sure you go through the entire security settings and privacy settings within LinkedIn itself. And we just want you to remember the principle underlying it. Yes, you want to protect your personal data, but no, you also want to allow a certain amount of transparency if you want to be found for certain things. So if you limit incoming invites for connections to just people that you know, then you're going to seriously limit your visibility in the LinkedIn itself. Okay. Hey, given that LinkedIn has got algorithms to help recruiters Okay, given that LinkedIn has got algorithms to help recruiters find candidates, does that mean that LinkedIn is less likely to help mid-career switchers, as the algorithms will less likely surface profiles of mid-career switchers in the recruiter search results? Yes and no.
Yeah.
So remember, right? Yes. So if a recruiter is very specific, I want somebody with 20 years of experience leading a high-performing team in, say, commodities trading, right? It's very specific. So the search engine will not pick you up. But where the search engine is going to pick you up is where you have a certain amount of overlap with the role that you are aiming for, and your profile has got sufficient keywords. So for example, right, if you're from sector A, you are interested in sector B, right? And the chances are, if you are that interested in sector B, which is the area that you want to pivot into, you would be so passionate about your intended pivot that you will be posting content, you will be taking courses, you will be joining online communities, or you will be talking to people about a role in those areas. So I am talking about if you are a career pivoter, if you're interested in this particular, say for example, I'm just giving an example, compliance, right? And you're not from compliance. What you would be expected to do would be, you will be looking at, all the people who are in compliance, you will be snooping their profiles, right? Secondly, you will be reaching out to some of these people who are in the roles that you are interested in to find out from them information about their what they do on a day-to-day basis. Thirdly, you will find yourself joining, say, interest groups on LinkedIn in compliance. And fourthly, if you find yourself joining interest groups, you will also likely be contributing to the interest groups. You will be engaging in discussions in the interest groups. And all these types of activities, right, will rank you high in the search engine. And we are not going to say that this is going to be foolproof and bulletproof. Yeah. And your lack of 20 years of experience in a certain sector where it is required for a CEO position is not going to be made up by you gaming that LinkedIn engine. But the engine can work for you no matter what your circumstances.
Yes. As what Eileen said, the key thing is the keywords, because the algorithm works by searching for certain keywords combination. So if you, as what Eileen said, you want to switch to compliance, yes, you would have gone and searched what are the compliance people, what are the words that they use, what do they put on their profile, and then you try to create, without lying, I must add, don't lie, don't ever lie. Those keywords that if the hiring manager is looking for someone in compliance, if they type certain keywords, you will still be found. So yes and no, it all depends on how refined the hiring manager is going to refine your switch. Refine his or her search. Right? So the keyword is what you want to project yourself to be. When we talk about how is it you want to be found, right? If you want to be found as someone who's in sector A but now wants to go to sector B, then you'll be portraying this in your LinkedIn so that when people are looking for people in sector B, they may still find you through all these keywords that you put on your profile, or the activities that you, as what Eileen said, the activities that you've been doing, so that you will be found.
And I know we have covered this as well in our other webinars, right? But there are too many people that we see coming to us who say, okay, I've heard that the latest thing is data analytics. I want to, get into a career in data analytics. And then, the sentence, I want to be a data analyst, is about the only interest you have in the field. You have not done any homework on the field. You have no interest in data. You have no interest in programming. You do not know about GitHub, or you do not know about Kaggle. So these are all the telltale signs. And these are also all the things that will differentiate that person who is able to pivot successfully in a career of his or her choice, and that person who only says, okay, I just want to pivot, but I haven't done anything. I just heard that it is something good, and that's all. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to move on. Okay, so we're done understanding the basic principles of how LinkedIn works. And next up, we're just going to cover very quickly, how to decide if LinkedIn is for you. So the question that arises from the previous section, right, is are your jobs even on LinkedIn at all? So we've given two very extreme examples here, Starbucks, right? If you're planning to be a Starbucks barista, I don't know about other countries, but at least in Singapore, people do not put barista jobs for Starbucks on LinkedIn. You are far better off writing to Starbucks themselves or, walking into a branch. Right. And similarly for Secret Service kind of jobs like FBI, I do not think they put, they put jobs for assassins in there on LinkedIn. So that's not where you're going to, so this is your first decision point. If you're at a stage of life or if you're in a type of job that you know that your jobs are not found on LinkedIn, then you are better off putting your networking to use elsewhere outside of LinkedIn. Okay. And are you prepared to do the job, to do the work to actually sow and reap on LinkedIn itself? So we've talked about how, when you use LinkedIn, it's not just putting up a profile there and then leaving it and hoping that somebody somehow finds you. This really doesn't work. So there is a certain amount of work involved. And the question to ask you is, to ask yourselves at this stage, is that in my season of life, now at this stage in my career, am I still prepared to do this work, to actually work the engine, if I want to use it as a job search tool? Okay. And do you have a runway? So we are not trying to be ageist here, but we are talking about those of you who might be in your 60s and you might be very, very against social media. You might absolutely hate the idea of Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, and you might really dislike the idea of using LinkedIn. And in this case, right, when we talk about runway, we are talking about, okay, if I'm going to use LinkedIn, I have to go and learn how to use LinkedIn. I have to learn, what social media is. Then this is a decision point where you say, okay, is it even worth it for me to be on LinkedIn at all? And we are also talking about certain roles, the very, very high ones, like, top CEOs of big corporations. Those are not likely, in those areas, right, the recruiters are likely to look for the talent outside of LinkedIn. So these are the kind of profiles that once they put up, they do not need any activity. People will come and find them. So we are talking about, say, for example, CEO of Google. Say the profile is on LinkedIn, and whoever wants to headhunt this person is going to go to him. He doesn't need to have any activity on LinkedIn. Okay. So another reason why you might not want to use LinkedIn is if you really hate social media. So if that is the case for you, you hate it so much that you're not prepared to use the work, and worse, you judge people negatively for being on LinkedIn the whole time. Okay, then, my suggestion is that find some other ways to use as your job search tools. I also just want to mention that within LinkedIn itself, you are going to find all sorts of characters who use LinkedIn to publicize themselves. Some not so, some might come across as very arrogant in the Asian context. So you might think that, oh, this is not something I want to do. But the thing is, the so-called arrogant ones are the ones who are popping up in recruiters' feeds. And those are the ones who are getting the attention they need for their job search. So I like to invite everyone to adopt LinkedIn, with an open mind. Don't judge other people or judge yourself for using LinkedIn in whatever manner that you see fit, and then just work the tool for what it's worth. Okay. Okay. And before, this is the last slide for this particular point, is that if you still can't decide if LinkedIn is for you, you can still put up a basic profile, a very basic profile with just your name and bare bones descriptions of all the jobs that you have had. And there is a very simple reason for this. Within your job application, right, you will be putting your contact information when you send in a CV. So you will send in your name, your email address, your contact number, And what you want to include, if you want to look like you're relevant for today's context, is a LinkedIn URL in your resume. So at the very least, even if you're just very against LinkedIn, if you can put up that URL within your CV itself, it's going to help you come across as somebody who is at least tech savvy enough to know that LinkedIn is the largest job search tool on the market out there right now. Okay. Hey, Lionel, feel free to add in.
No, go ahead.
Okay, great. I'm ready to move to the next point now, which is learn simple tips to work LinkedIn. So we're going to once again show principles, and then for those of you who think that you don't understand, I invite you to ask questions and draw out from us as much as you can. Hey, I will only appear in a recruiter search if I'm connected to the recruiter. A lot of people don't realize this, and it's very important. And let me explain to you with the following slide. So if you look at this person on the left-hand side, the person that's in the purple circle, I hope everyone can see that. Okay. Assume that this person is a recruiter. Okay, the two persons who are in red, they are directly connected to the recruiter in purple, are what we call first degree connections. Okay, and the people who are in blue, they're connected to the red, but they are not connected to the purple, are considered second degree connections to the recruiter. So those of you who might not be familiar with this particular part of LinkedIn, I need you to pay attention here that a recruiter, when the recruiter does a search, he or she is not going to look for your name. If I'm a recruiter and I'm recruiting for a position in my company, I'm not going to key in Lionel Tan because I wouldn't know that Lionel Tan exists. But if I look for career advisor and I key in the search term career advisor, right? And for Lionel, if he is connected to me as a recruiter, Lionel is going to appear top in my search results. But if he does not even know me at all and we are not connected on LinkedIn, I will not even see him. And if you can practice, all of you who are online right now, you can actually practice this in your own search. Your LinkedIn right now, you just key in the search for, compliance specialist, risk specialist, and then you can look at who is showing up on your search results. You're going to see that your search results will only come up with first or second degree connections. You're not likely to see third, fourth, fifth, or sixth connections. Okay, and the application for you, why this is important is because many people who are, especially from the banking and finance industry, we're all very concerned about privacy. So you feel that you don't want to accept LinkedIn connections from people that you don't know. And remember, I said earlier in LinkedIn, the two things that help you to rank high in a search result is just two things. The number of connections you have and the amount of activity you have. Now, the number of connections, so what happens is that if you want to rank high on somebody's search, you have to be connected to that person in the first place. So it is in your interest to actually indiscriminately accept connections from other people. As crazy as this seems, I'm just going to assume, for example, right? Look at the woman. Let's look at the people in, let me see, I do have somebody in green circles, right? Look at the people in green circles. Okay, if the person in green circle wants to be found by the recruiter in purple, he or she is not going to be found unless this green circle person first either invites or accepts invitations from the blue and from the red people first to draw you closer to the recruiter. So you're not going to show up in the recruiter's search results if you don't even do that. So this is the reason why we ask people, if you're on LinkedIn and you get strange requests from everyone on LinkedIn for connections, the thing that should guide your decision is, if I want to be found, I should indiscriminately, and I mean totally indiscriminately, accept all connections. Because you may not like that person in blue. You may not know that person in blue, but that person in blue knows that person in red. And that person in red knows the person in purple. And that person in blue that's trying to connect to you is the only way that you're going to shorten your degree of connection between you and the purple person. Okay? Does indicating okay, I like these questions. Hey, does indicating in the settings that you're open to work in order for recruiters help in making you visible to recruiters? With this setting, does that mean all your connections, including those who are not recruiters, know you're looking for a job? Okay. The answer is actually very counterintuitive. I'm told by my recruiter friends that they actually prefer to find people who are in jobs, currently employed. So my recruiter friend may not represent the entire recruiter market. So what we're saying is that there is at least half of the recruiter market who think that a candidate who is already in a job is actually more attractive than a candidate who is out of a job. And so when you put open to work, you are likely to, you might disadvantage yourself in the job search process. So that's one thing for you to consider. I'm happy for Lionel to chip in with an opposing view if you have. And to answer the second part of your question, right, with this setting, does that mean that all your connections, including those who are not recruiters, know you're looking for a job? Yes, I see tons of people who with that. And so this is the time where you probably want to decide, am I going to put there, I'm looking for a job? Because this may seriously disadvantage you if you have the kind of recruiters who prefer to find people who are currently in their jobs. Yeah.
Okay. Is it my facial expression? I won't say it's counter, but it's like you could put this open to work. I think, if I'm not wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you can put this function even if you are employed. But then again, if you were to put it on, the second part is yes. So whoever that is in your connection will see that you're open to work. So, you know, so that's the thing. So you're employed, you put open to work, then it's like, uh-oh. But if you are not employed and you put open to work, again, as what Eileen said, not all recruiters are like that, but some recruiters are. So it's your judgment call. We cannot tell you to do it or not to do it.
Thanks for that, Lionel. Okay, and so if you're okay with this answer, we're going to move on. Feel free to let us know if the answer doesn't satisfy you. Okay, so if we are interested in a job by company ABC, we have to go and find who is the recruiter of that ABC and add that person. No, the answer is no. So remember, right, in the job search market, why LinkedIn is powerful, right? It is powerful for the people who are found. So chances are, if you are able, okay, so I'm going to answer your question in two parts. Yeah. So the first thing is that if you are able to find that recruiter who is recruiting for company ABC, chances are there are probably at least 100 other people who are interested in that job who is going to do that same thing to that recruiter and try to add that recruiter. And that recruiter is likely not going to even accept your connection. So the reason why we spend so much time just now talking about being found is in that, so for example, there's, a recruiter is recruiting for roles, tons and tons of roles every day, right? And when we talk about you being found, right, is when the recruiter is looking for someone with your expertise. And when the recruiter looks for a risk management specialist, right, you want to rank high in that person's profile. And when you rank high in that person's profile, that person opens your profile, that person has been so interested in your profile and your fit for that role that he or she will actually want to call you up for that role. And that is how headhunting works. The hidden job market where recruiters find talent before the talent actually looks for recruiters is where you want to be if you're trying to use LinkedIn as a job search tool. Yeah, so the short answer to your question is no, you do not have to find who is a recruiter, because chances are, even if you could find that person would probably be hounded by hundreds of other people just like you. You're not going to up your chances of finding that. Okay, so I hope that. And to answer your question, the next question, which is, I will be careful of indiscriminately accepting invites from everyone, as there are some scammers. So again, our overriding principle is, if you want to be found in LinkedIn, the only way to be found is if you are near enough in connections to those recruiters. And sometimes you can only get near enough to those recruiters by accepting all sorts of indiscriminate requests. And secondly, in terms of scammers, yes, there are probably, scammers from Nigeria and all that, but, I think many of us are alert enough to ignore the scam messages. So again, your overriding rationale for why you are indiscriminately accepting requests is this: do I want to have enough connections so that when a recruiter is looking for my role, they are able to reach me? I will rank high enough in the search results. Yep. So I'm hoping this answers your questions, and thank you for that. We can only set up to only see recruiters. Thanks for that as well, Soma, right? Yeah, thanks for that. If you can, there is a setting to set up to see only recruiters and not for others. Yeah. Can recruiters see profile even if it's set to be private? I believe there are different settings where it is so private that recruiter cannot even see you. And so the next question is, if you don't want to be found on LinkedIn, then you don't really need to be on LinkedIn.
I mean, the rule of thumb is, if that recruiter is not connected to you, when you set it to private, they cannot see you. Private means private. Private means only those that you connect with can see you. That means the public cannot see you at all, which means you may not be able to be found that easily.
So again, which defeats your purpose of being on LinkedIn and all. Yep. If I want to apply for a job in XYZ company and I found that a recruiter, is advisable. Yes, it is. It is advisable to open up a LinkedIn chat if you have questions about the role. In fact, those who actually reveal their identity as a recruiter for a certain role, they are happy for people to chat with them to find out, for people to ask them what the role is about and stuff like that. Yeah, so no harm.
Yeah, it's no harm, but you cannot expect every recruiter will respond to you. So you got to have set your expectation. That's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah, thank you for that, Lionel. So Charlene, is more than 500 connections the minimum to be in the recruiter's candidate scan space? That's more than 500 is really the bare minimum. The people that, for the people who are really, really big on the LinkedIn space, the amount of connections they have is like in the region of 10,000s. So just to give you an indication, and the only people who get found on LinkedIn without that number of connections, right, is probably people in very, very specialized professions. Like, right now, at least in banking, we are talking about people in the ESG space. Okay. So happy to move on. Okay, tip number 2. To work LinkedIn, people search using keywords. So therefore, I have to use the keywords that I want to be found for. Johnny, to answer your question, no, follow is not a connection.
No, yeah.
Yeah, and do people search using LinkedIn? I mean, I must use the keywords that I want to be found for. Okay, I'm going to give a very specific example here that I hope all of you can catch. So for example, right, if I am a trainer and I want to be found for my experience in training, so how I want to work the algorithm is the word training and anything related to training. It might be soft skills, it might be personality assessment. It has to be in the About Me section. That's the first place, right? It has to be in the About Me. Number two, it has to be in my headline. My headline has to have something related to training. Okay. And number three, because the search engine is going to look for my years of experience, as well as how many times in my past experience I have held the title of a trainer. So the word training or trainer has to repeat in all your previous job titles. And not only does it have to repeat in the job title, the keywords related to your area of expertise in training has to be found in the description section of every experience. Because the LinkedIn that is for recruiters allows them to search using number of years of experience. So if you were actually doing training for 10 years, but you only reflected 5 years in LinkedIn itself, and the recruiter is specifically looking for someone with 10 years, you're not going to come up in the search results. Okay. And for those of you who might have been in the past in jobs that, you might have been a trainer, but the company did not give you an official title called a trainer. Maybe you were called a sales associate or something like that. Now, in LinkedIn is where you are allowed in your job title to put in multiple titles, even if that's not what the company gave you. So understand this. If the word training is what you want to be found for, even for the jobs that you were doing training, but you were not given an official title as trainer, you have to put the word trainer or training somewhere in your job title for that job stint. Okay, I hope everyone caught this. This is very, very key when you're using this particular tip. And the other thing about the headline, those of you who use headlines, the headline is not there for you to say, I am looking for a job. Because the headline is there for the search engine to pick up. So you don't want to say that you are passionate in the headline. And you don't want to say that you're looking for a job in the headline. The headline needs to be very specific. It's only 140 characters, if I'm not wrong. You need to use it to include the keywords that you want to be found for. Okay. So I hope everyone got that. Lionel?
Don't waste your time writing on the headline, my name is Lionel Tan. Okay, that is a waste. Because also depending on the size or the equipment that they use on LinkedIn, only certain will appear in, next to your picture in the headline. So please put the most important thing that you want to be found for at the top. Don't put it at the bottom, because not everybody will have the patience to scroll down or press the button to say see more. If they look, that word is not there, you will not be found. That's for visual. That's for visual. Okay, I'm not talking about search engine, because search engine will go all the way through. But let's say the person is just browsing his connections or browsing to search for things. What you put on the headline is very important, because even though, as Eileen say, 140 character, you don't put all those important things at the bottom, because he may not scroll down, or she may not press the see more.
And the other thing that you might want to put in, right? Okay, so those of you who are who want to be found for certain types of content, maybe you created slides on a certain topic and all that, right? It's actually a good idea for you to attach articles that you've written, slides that you have created and all those, and put them within your LinkedIn profile somewhere, because somehow or other they get picked up by people who may be of value to you eventually, and that's how you end up getting valuable connections in LinkedIn. Okay. And so about keywords, I must use the keywords. So and then another tip about keywords is this. So sometimes companies look for global experience, right? So they will look for example, experience in other continents, and it might not be an obvious fact to you, but you actually need to put in things, the actual cultures and the regions, the geography regions that you've actually worked in, because sometimes this is a trait that's important to companies. Yep. So just a tip. And for those of you who might be, in those of you who have got CVs where you feel like there are tons of specific skill areas that you're experienced in, you don't know where to put them. Now LinkedIn is where you want to put them. Yeah, where you want to be found for those things. Okay. So tip number 3, I will only rank high in a search if I'm active. So this is why we mentioned just now that you only get on LinkedIn if you decide that you are prepared to do the work of actually being active, right? And what active means, I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and I invite everyone to ask questions if I'm not clear. Okay, so basically there are three things to remember when we talk about LinkedIn activity: is how much you like, you comment, and you share. So let me give you an example. So we are not asking you to find or write content, original content every day and post on LinkedIn. Okay, so for example, maybe Lionel likes reading Pokemon, maybe Lionel likes Pokemon, right? And so, he writes very deep articles about, the mechanics of Pokemon and something like that. Every day he spends a long time posting content on Pokemon on LinkedIn. You see? So what happens is that he's doing a lot of sharing when he's posting his own content. But that content, if I'm Lionel's connection, which I am, I'm not interested in Lionel's content. And I'm not going to share his Pokemon content to my connections. So Lionel's sharing stops at me. It doesn't propagate. So the thing about sharing content is that you always want to share content that is easily shareable. And by easily shareable, we are actually relieving you of a lot of work, because you don't have to share deep stuff on ESG. You don't have to share deep stuff on data analysis. You don't have to share any of these, because these are topics that people will not share and reshare, share and reshare. It just doesn't interest people. The kind of topics that will cause people to like your post and share is those that have to do with humor, those that have to do with motivation, and those that have to do with humor, motivation, and inspiration. Anything that tugs at the emotions, be it fear, be it love, or joy or happiness, gratitude. Those are the things that will get people motivated enough to share. And again, why this sharing is important, let me describe how it will happen. So for example, Lionel shares a very motivational post about overcoming odds. So I'm his connection. I like it so much, I share. And then one of our teammates likes it so much that he decides to share it too. So we all start sharing. And because the content, which is motivational, cuts across all sorts of occupations and all sorts of people, all our respective connections that see Lionel's content shares and shares and shares and shares. And eventually, somewhere down the line, there is one recruiter who sees Lionel's inspirational post. And this recruiter is, not even Lionel's 10th degree of connection. But because he found Lionel's inspirational post so touching, he clicks on that post, and he clicks on Lionel and realizes that Lionel is a career coach. And this recruiter is looking for a career coach. And so once he does that, he decides that he's interested in Lionel's content. He likes Lionel's post. Lionel will start appearing in his feed. And if that recruiter happens to have a career coach position next time around, he's going to remember Lionel for the inspirational post that Lionel shared. So with this example, I'm hoping that everyone can understand why we shared those earlier tips about, why you need to have a high number of connections, why you need to be indiscriminately accepting connections, and then why you want to be active in actually sharing stuff. And we've made it easy for you. Sharing stuff is not about sharing deep content, so you don't have to. You only have to share content that people like, and commenting and sharing, commenting and liking are two other very important activities. So when we say like somebody else's post, right, you are, there are people that you follow on LinkedIn, you will like their post, right? And this registers as an activity on LinkedIn. The algorithm actually tracks your activity level, as part of determining whether you rank high in the search engine results or not, right? So the more you like people's posts, the higher you will rank. And secondly, when you start liking and start commenting on other people's posts, you tend to get reactions from the other person, right? When you comment on somebody's post, that person feels obliged to respond to your comment. And if that person has got 30,000 connections and you only have got 500 connections, right? When you start engaging with that person, somehow your ranking goes up. And his 30,000 connections who sees this interaction is going to, someone in his or her network is going to start asking for your connections. That's how it happens. Okay, so I hope that was clear enough. Lionel. Oh, Lionel, feel free to add in some stuff before I answer the question.
Yeah, that's the thing. The more you engage with your audience, you will be bumped up the search skills and you'll be seen by more people, right? So if you do share something and someone is nice enough to comment, please engage with that person, comment back with the person. That's how you can start what we call your networking, right? Because as you said, you're making use of that person's connection too, because that person could be someone who's in Facebook for a longer time than you, and they have, 300,000 followers. And when you engage and comment with that person, these 300,000 people get to see it too. So that's why we strongly encourage you to share things, comment things, and like things. Okay, that's how you can build this your base, whereby you can be found more.
Yeah. Okay, next question. Is it useful to participate in posts posted by others in LinkedIn? So half and half. I would say it increases the level of activity in LinkedIn, but it's not going to get you a job immediately.
Correct.
If that makes sense, yeah. And let me see. Okay, and
participating in our poll is very, very important.
And at this point, right, I also want to share, right, if you are in LinkedIn long enough, you will get strangers who endorse your skills in LinkedIn first, and then they ask you to endorse their skills back. Okay, there is a reason behind this. I'm just going to state the reason, but I leave it to your individual judgment to decide whether you want to do it. So what happens is that in LinkedIn, again, you have got so-called higher credibility if you have more people endorsing your skills. And when you get found by a recruiter, you also want to be found. You also want to be found with a lot of people endorsing your skills. So this is the reason why people give unsolicited endorsements. And it is only sort of courtesy if you try to reciprocate. So not everyone feels that way, but I'm just putting it out there to let you know that there is this practice and this function. Yeah, so that's for you to make your decision on it.
You make your own decision, correct? Yeah.
And then under comment, it is okay. Yeah, Johnny, it's actually great if you can ask question for understanding, because when you ask a question
about it.
Oh yeah, okay.
Be professional about it. Yeah.
Yeah, when you ask a question, right, the person who did that posting will actually feels obliged to answer. So it's actually a great way to increase your engagement, which again increases your activity, which increases your visibility in LinkedIn. Yeah. Okay. And then, okay. Gonna move. Okay, tip 4, and let me see. That's our last tip actually. If I want my content to propagate, it must be shareable. So I mentioned that humor, inspiration, and motivation is content that's easily shareable. Let me share with you an example from my own posting. In a season of my life when I used to be very active, right? There was one of my particular posts that generated a lot of activity, and it was a very simple post. I merely posted a picture of an Avengers movie, and I said, that I was one of those people. I mean, I'm one of those people who love to read and digest the entire synopsis before I actually watch the movie. So, that particular content generated a lot of outrage from some people who are on my feed, and because they were so outraged that there are people like me who read synopsis before actually watching a movie. They took the time to actually comment about how it's wrong and how it's like that's not what they would do and stuff like that. So this is what we mean, okay? And you don't have to always do something so dramatic. There was another time when I did something that was short. Okay, so I posted a very simple picture of a cockroach, and I said, everybody is brave until they see that the cockroach has got wings. So that was a very shareable post. So that post also gained me a lot of traction. So I think so that first post about the Avengers, over, I think, don't know, 1 month or something like that, it garnered like 4,000 shares, something like that. So just to give you an idea of what shareable content looks like. So I'm hoping that everybody will get a better idea with this. Yeah, so I've come to the end of all the tips and the principles that we wanted to share. And
I just want to just add on, as you can see how powerful the share function is, which is why we, in the beginning, again, you need to decide what do you want to portray yourself as when you're on LinkedIn, because whatever you're going to share, it can be like spread all across the globe, right? So it's a very powerful tool when it comes to reaching various people. So keep it professional is what I will advise you to do. And because the reach is far and wide, so be responsible for what you're sharing also.
Yep. Okay. So I just want to round off and we're going to be around for a little while more to answer any specific questions that you have about your profile. So to round off and to summarize and to remind everyone, what we have covered in the first place is, the basic principles of how LinkedIn works. And I hope that everybody will remember that the whole objective of you being on LinkedIn is really to be found. And you have to do everything to be found, right? And number two, you decide whether LinkedIn is for you. And the third thing is that I hope that the tips that we have shared with you on how LinkedIn works, how you're going to work LinkedIn for yourself is going to work for you as you start getting active. Yeah, so that's all I have.
I think that one more thing that we can add is, sometimes when you want to tell the recruiters that you're passionate or you are knowledgeable about certain topics, that's where LinkedIn is also a place where they can verify, right? They will again check what you've been sharing. They will check what you've been posting. They may check who are you following, what have you been, what kind of groups do you join, what kind of brands are you following, that kind of thing. So it serves as a verification, so sort of a verification to see when you say that you know about certain thing or you're passionate about certain things, are you really telling the truth? Because if you, as what Eileen say, you say, I love numbers a lot, and when they look at your LinkedIn profile, there is nothing on your LinkedIn profile that shows this fact, then they will most probably thinking, is he just saying it so that I'll be interested, or is he really someone who's interested in data analytics? Yeah.
Thank you, Lionel. Yeah, so that's all I have for this. And then let me see what we're going to share this. Okay, so for those of you who might need help with your LinkedIn profile, right? We are having a small group career clinic next week. If you need help with your LinkedIn profile, so these are the slots that we have. Feel free to sign up. And if you're interested in joining this clinic to actually look through your actual profile, email us if you look at the bottom, email us at our IBF Careers Connect address with a subject title Career Clinic LinkedIn. And our friendly colleague, Elisa, is going to inform you of your time slot. Okay, if we are ready. I'm done. Oh.
Have you done the poll, Eileen?
Not
no,
yet. We're waiting for you to come back. As we were saying, I think poll is very important, especially this one, because it helps us to generate new content. One of the reasons why we started this is our pilot LinkedIn, talk about LinkedIn, is because of posts like this, whereby people tell us that, hey, can you please start doing this because we're interested in this. So this will be helpful and things like that. So by filling up this poll is really helping yourself, because then we will have a brainstorm and we'll decide what kind of workshop we want to put moving forward. Yeah. You could still ask questions while you're doing the poll, and we'll try our best to answer. Eileen, are you going to show the other QR or it's the same email address? I mean, for those of you who wants to see us, because and may or may not, and you're not attending this clinic and you want to see us on other matters of your career, yes, you can still write to this same email address, but you don't need to put the subject as clinic, you know, so that our nice colleague Lisa will not put you into the clinic, but actually to put you in the appointment proper, whereby you can see the career advisors on other things about your job search journey.
And lastly, not to mention that for those of you who are attending this, you feel free to send Lionel and me connection requests. Thanks, Sebastian. Okay, for the rest, right, we hope that you can use this time to ask your questions. And if not, feel free to join us at the career clinic next week. And if not, if you already have a career coach, feel free to work with your coach as well.
Mm-hmm.
No, Johnny, we need you to actually email send an email to the email address so that Elisa can pick it up from there. And a tip for those who are keen to attend the clinic, please come prepared with all your questions, because we will try our best to answer all your questions there.
Mm. And our career advisory services at this time is only for Singaporean and PRs. And it's free of charge. If there's no other questions, I think I'm sorry if I cannot pronounce your name. I think you can just write to this email address and then just say that you want to request to see a career advisor for Amritan. Yeah, sorry if I pronounced your name wrongly.
No, you don't have to
No.
come prepared with
Yeah.
a LinkedIn profile, but
No.
you do have to come with some questions though.
Yeah, you don't need to. Yeah.
It's
We don't
not
expect
going
you
to,
to
yeah.
we're not gonna like go through, so you come with questions is good enough. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, thank you all of you who have done the poll. It will provide us with a good idea on what we could do better and what we can do next.
Oh, it's dialed in, it's virtual.
Yeah, it's virtual. Sorry. Yeah, the clinic is virtual.
Yes, Sebastian. The clinic is really for those of you who have burning questions and you have a LinkedIn profile. You feel free to come and we can take a look at your profile and let you know how to further improve.
Yeah,
and
but if you don't have one or you don't need to complete one immediately, you can see us. So
okay.
Yeah, depending on your own situation right now. Yeah.
And for the person who asked, right, do you have to list out all your job experiences on LinkedIn or just last 10 years? So again, remember what the search engine does. It actually looks for people with a certain number of years of experience. So if you're applying for a senior role and you know that you have got more than 10 years of experience and you need that more than 10 years to qualify for a senior role, then yes, you have to put in that number of years of experience. Because otherwise the search engine is not going to recognize that you have so much experience.
10 years of experience.
Yeah. All right. Okay, I think we're done. If there are no more questions, last call for people who have questions. If not, we are ready to log off.
And again, we thank you for staying with us all this time. Thank you for your support. And so as we said, if you are coming for the clinic, please make sure that your email title has the word clinic in LinkedIn. But for those of you who wants to see a career advisor for other things besides LinkedIn, then it's the same email address, but you don't need to write anything about LinkedIn or everything there. And then we will also arrange an appointment online to see one of our career advisor.
Again, we do have some questions. So the rest of you who need to go, feel free.
Yeah, just go. Yeah, feel free to go if you need to go.
Yeah, we're hanging around to answer questions, right? It may work against you if the recruiters are looking for young people, say less than 20 years. Yes, it may work against you. So it all depends on what, so it all depends on what you're looking for, right? So if at this stage in your life, you're specifically looking for a junior role, you don't want to be recognized for so much experience, then feel free to drop the years of experience. Secondly, if you are open for those senior roles and junior roles as well in this stage of your life, you don't want to miss out either. So we would suggest that you include your years of experience, but in the About Me section, say something about yourself, where you are, what you see yourself doing, and your personality. I believe that your personality is going to show through your, the kind of posts you do. So this is what you want to work for you, your personality to show through, so that the recruiter will be interested enough to call you. Right. How does this career coach can help us? Okay, there are two things we are talking about here. The clinic next week is specifically to talk about your LinkedIn profile. Okay, and if you need an individual coach to work with you in your career journey, whether it is resume writing or job interview skills, or long-term working with you on your LinkedIn profile, you sign up, you email that same address saying that you're looking for a career coach. So the person who talked about 20 years of experience, I hope that answer helped to answer your question. If not, feel free to ask and I'll try my best. All free.
Yeah, it's free, and then as long as it's free for us. Yeah, but it's only for Singaporeans and PRs.
I think we're about done. No more questions.
Mm.
Okay, so guys, hope to see you all, whether you are seeing one of our teammates as a career coach or seeing us. Okay, thank you to all your anonymous people. And
Yeah.
So hope to see you around, whether you come to see us at the clinic or at our future webinars or at our coaching sessions with your individual coach. So all the best and take care.
All the best. Take care.